If it is so horrid here, if it's so racist here, if there's no opportunity here, if the gringo's so horrible to everybody who comes here, why do they come here? By the millions. To this horrible hellhole we call the United States. I don't get it. The working conditions are horrible. The benefits really suck. There's cops picking up people and throwing them into the gulags. And yet they come by the millions and they won't go home. It's so horrible here, particularly in Arizona, which has 500,000 illegal aliens. It must be horrible in Arizona. All the repression. And I just read a story today that the number of illegal crossings on the border into Arizona is even more since they passed this law. Really scary, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? This racist law and the cops and the government in Arizona, man. Sick. Absolutely sick. From the top down. I want to remind you about Mexico and that government and its laws, and they've been updated. And factrealpress.worldpress.com, which we will link to, has an excellent piece based on 2006 research papers exposing how Mexico discriminates against illegal and legal immigrants. Under Mexico's immigration law, the general law on population, Mexico welcomes only foreigners who will be useful to Mexican society. Foreigners are admitted into Mexico according to their possibilities of contributing to national progress. Immigration officials, that's Article 32. Immigration officials must ensure that immigrants will be useful elements for the country and that they have the necessary funds for their own sustenance and for their dependents. That's Article 34. Foreigners may be barred from the country if their presence upsets, quote, the equilibrium of national demographics, unquote. When foreigners are deemed detrimental to, quote, economic or national interests, unquote. When they do not behave like good citizens in their own country. When they have broken Mexican laws and when, quote, they are found to be physically or mentally healthy. That is not physically or mentally healthy. That's Article 37 of Mexican's law. The Secretary of Governance may suspend or prohibit the admission of foreigners when he determines it to be in the national interest. That's a quote, Article 38. Mexican authorities must keep track of every single person in the country. Federal, local, and municipal police must cooperate with federal immigration authorities upon request, that is, to assist in the arrests of illegal immigrants. That would be Article 73. A national population registry keeps track of, quote, every single individual who comprises the population of the country and verifies each individual's identity. That would be Articles 85 and 86. A national catalog of foreigners tracks foreign tourists and immigrants, Article 87, and assigns each individual with a unique tracking number. That would be Article 91. Foreigners with fake papers who enter the country under false pretenses may be imprisoned. Foreigners with fake immigration papers may be fined or imprisoned, Article 116. Foreigners who sign government documents with a signature that is false or different from that which he normally uses are subject to a fine and imprisonment, again, Article 116. Foreigners who fail to obey the rules will be fined, deported, and or imprisoned as felons. That would be Article 117. Foreigners who are deported from Mexico and attempt to re-enter the country without authorization can be imprisoned for up to 10 years. That would be Article 118. Foreigners who violate the terms of their visa may be sentenced up to 6 years in prison. Articles 119, 120, and 121. Foreigners who misrepresent the terms of their visa while in Mexico, such as working without a permit, can also be imprisoned. You want to hear more? Well, we're going to hear more in just a moment from the President of Mexico talking down to us about Arizona's law. You better not step into Mexico illegally, boy. You're going to wind up in prison. Did Obama stand up for his country? Did he stand up for his fellow countrymen? Did he stand up for the rule of law and justice? No, he never does. We'll get to that later, too. Now, under Mexican law, illegal immigration is a felony. In the U.S., it's a misdemeanor, if it's ever enforced. The general law on population says a penalty of up to 2 years in prison and a fine of 300 to 5,000 pesos will be imposed on the foreigner who enters the country illegally. Article 123 of their general law. Foreigners with legal immigration problems may be deported from Mexico instead of being imprisoned, Article 125. Foreigners who attempt against national sovereignty or security will be deported, Article 126. Mexicans who help illegal aliens enter the country are themselves considered criminals under the law. A Mexican who marries a foreigner with the sole purpose of helping the foreigner live in the country is subject to up to 5 years in prison. That would be Article 127. Shipping and airline companies that bring undocumented foreigners into Mexico will be fined as well, Article 132. Now let's look at Mexico's Constitution. The Mexican Constitution expressly forbids non-citizens to participate in the country's political life. Non-citizens are forbidden to participate in demonstrations or express opinions in public about domestic politics. Article 9 of the Constitution states, only citizens of the Republic may do so to take part in the political affairs of the country. Article 33 is unambiguous. Foreigners may not in any way participate in the political affairs of the country. So this hypocrite president of Mexico, comes here, stands at our White House next to that moron president of ours, dictating, lecturing to us about Arizona law, which is a joke compared to Mexican law. An absolute joke compared to Mexican law. And we have to hear it. And our president joins in. He humiliates himself because he doesn't speak for me, and he doesn't speak for you, and he doesn't speak for the 73% of the American people who support the Arizona law. Now, I said before what we should do is take the Constitution of Mexico respecting immigration and their general law on the population and slap a U.S. law number on it, HR whatever, and pass it. Won't use Mexico's law. Mexico's Constitution denies fundamental property rights to foreigners. Article 27 states, only Mexicans by birth or naturalization and Mexican companies have the right to acquire ownership of lands, waters, and their assessments to obtain concessions for the exploitation of mines or of waters. The state may grant the same right to foreigners, provided they agree with the Ministry of Foreign Relations to consider themselves as nationals in respect to such property and bind themselves not to invoke the protection of their governments in matters relating thereto. The Mexican Constitution denies equal employment rights to immigrants, even legal ones in the public sector. Quote, Mexicans shall have priority over foreigners under equality of circumstances for all classes of concessions and for all employment, positions, or commissions of the government in which the status of the citizenship is not indispensable. In time of peace, no foreigner can serve in the army nor in the police or public security forces. The Mexican Constitution guarantees that immigrants will never be treated as real Mexican citizens, even if they're legally naturalized. Article 32 bans foreigners, immigrants, and even naturalized citizens of Mexico from serving as military officers, Mexican flagship and airline crew, and chiefs of seaports and airports. An immigrant who becomes a nationalized Mexican citizen can be stripped of his citizenship if he lives again in the country of his origin for more than 5 years under Article 37. Mexican citizens risk no such loss. And it goes on. It goes on. Now, ladies and gentlemen, are we going to so easily accept the destruction of our society at the urging of the President of Mexico and his puppets in this country? Who's the racist here? Sounds to me like the Mexican government is wholly racist against anybody who's not Mexican. It sounds to me like our government is pathetic. It does not seek to preserve this society. We're coming in November. We're coming for you liberals. We're coming for you pandering Republicans. Any conservative who says against, I'm liberal on the issue of immigration, you must dismiss them as moronic and people who do not believe in preserving this society.